Three, two, one. And welcome back to On Global Leadership's Everyday Leadership, leading in business, community, and self. This is the last of our modules in this course, Module 8, bringing it all together. And in this module, we really just want to, in many ways, summarize what we've walked through over the course of our time together with you. With you in this session are myself, Doug Guthrie, and we've all met many times, so I won't reintroduce myself, but let me go down to the next group. Ron, how about you?
I'm sorry, I must have missed something.
Okay, can you hear now?
Yes, I can now.
Okay,
Sorry
maybe
about that.
should we start over?
Yes, because I missed something.
Okay, we'll start over. And David, I'm going to come to you first, and then to Ron and to Alexander. Okay.
But it's not much of an intro. We're just kind of say hi.
Yeah. It's
got it.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to On Global Leadership's Everyday Leadership, leading in business, community, and self. This is the last of our 8 modules for this course. Module 8 is bringing it all together. And this is a module where we try to weave together all the threads of the things we've talked about over the course of this time that we've had together, exploring not just the general category of leadership, but very specifically everyday leadership, what it means to think about being a leader every day and every one of you in every moment of your lives. So you all know me, I'm Doug Guthrie, and have been with you throughout several of the modules of this course. We also have David. David, quick hi to everybody.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm David Chernew. I was with you for the Organization of One, the 2 modules on Organization 1 with Alexander as well as with Dante.
Great. And Ron, Dr. Garrett.
Hello, everybody. Ron Garrett. I was able to weigh in on the module on alignment, and I'm glad to be back, and on introspection, and I'm glad to be back with you once again.
And Alexander.
Hey, everybody, how you doing? Let's get it.
Let's get it. Let's do it, guys. We're going to get it. So, as with every session, let me just take a very quick moment to go over everything that we're trying to do and what we're trying to deliver for you all. The Everyday Leadership Agenda. We've broken this course into 8 different modules. We had an introductory module in which we talked about what everyday leadership is and how to think about leadership, not just as the position that you're in, but really how you act every day in your lives to make the people and the group around you a little bit better. Don't wait for leadership, take it now. And then we went into our frameworks and we talked about vision. Alexander, you and I were on that session together. And then we talked about alignment. And Ron, that was you and I on that session together talking about it. And then again, Alexander, you came back and worked with me on delivering the motivation session. And then the 4 of us were all on the introspection session. And we also used that not just as a way of introducing introspection, but as a segue or a lead into your sessions, David, which were Organization of One Session 1 and Organization of One Session 2. And this is our final session, bringing it all together. And we hope that we can sort of weave the strands together enough to make you all feel like this has some conclusion, but we will remind you that learning is like leadership. Learning is an everyday ongoing process. And so just because the course is over, it doesn't mean the learning around what we hope to teach you with this course ends. It actually, we hope, is just the beginning of a new mindset and a new way of thinking about things. I want to just to call you guys out, Ron and Alexander, because you've made a major transition in your lives. And part of your voices in this course are really helping people who are on the inside kind of see what the transition of becoming a returning citizen is about. Does that make sense, that the way I just said that about everyday leadership, not just being a journey that you can check off a box and say you took a course, but it's the beginning of an everyday journey?
Yes, it is. Because I speaking for myself, have been home over 5 years now. And you know, the statistics talk about how the numbers are in your first year, your third year, and your fifth year. So I know that by me leading myself and being able to participate in each one of these modules, with the exception of alignment, I know that this works because I've practiced this to become successful. So I know that in sharing this and how we are sharing together, Dr. Ron Garrett, and with you all, that this can help the people that are coming behind us as well. And that's why I'm saying, go get it, understand it, study it, make it applicable to yourself, make it a part of yourself, and you can win as well.
Beautiful. Ron, do you want to add to that?
And I'll just say over my leadership journey, I've read a lot. I've had to kind of piecemeal a lot of different things to get to where I am today. And there's never been one comprehensive approach to a leadership strategy that teaches an individual how to lead oneself well first, and with that being the foundation of true leadership. And I said, and after being involved in this course, certainly these are the keys to the life of your dreams. If we put these principles into practice, this is not something to implement when you come home. It is something to implement right now, today, where you are. And if we follow these steps, you can walk out your vision.
Guys, it's so beautiful how you just raised those issues. And I'm gonna, I was gonna save this for the end, but I'll just say it now, and then David, maybe put you on the spot to hear your thoughts on this. But I just want to say, I love what you just said about this being the beginning of a journey, and leadership is there for the taking. Everyone, every day, a leader. And you can really speak to the experiences that people who are watching this course have had. But I want to say something for myself. So I've taught leadership in general and everyday leadership for years. 20 years I've been teaching leadership. And I have to tell you guys, this experience of teaching with you has been transformative for me. It has been some of the most powerful teaching I've ever experienced, because I've been sitting there learning from you all. When I think about the alignment session I did with you, Ron, or the motivation and vision sessions I did with you, Alexander, so powerful. Like I truly was moved as a student myself. And so I want to thank you guys, for being a part of this. And of course, I want to thank you, David, for being my collaborator and constructing this whole thing. I know we were going to leave that for the end, and I jumped the gun on it. But David, any quick thoughts? We can say nice things at the end too.
There's no cap on nice things to be said, I guess. And this is a phenomenal experience. Hearing about Alexander's and Dante's journey. I was taking notes as I was teaching the class, to be honest. And the thing that struck me is how universal this story is. And I know we're talking about returning citizens, and I know many people who are going to be watching these videos are going to be, currently incarcerated. But the stories that are told are stories that are human and that follow you. It's the transition, it's the transformation that always occurs no matter where you find yourself. We are always confronting ourselves, trying to find the best part of ourselves, trying to bring that part out for ourselves and others. And it's just a universal story, and I think that's why everything's so moving. So
well said, so beautiful. And just to pony on that piece again, I've been teaching leadership for a long time, and when I talk about this project that I've been doing with this team right here about leadership and returning citizens, people think that's interesting. Why that group? And then I very quickly disabuse them of whatever they might be assuming, because I tell them I have learned more from this group of leaders, the Ron Garretts and the Alexander Campbells of the world, and the Sidney Davises, and the many people that we have in our group of people that have helped us construct this course. I've learned more about leadership in the time that we've been working together than perhaps I ever have. And it's been such a wonderful journey. And so I want to thank you all for it. And I hope that our participants are experiencing that learning journey too. And so in order to make sure that we kind of tie all the strands together, we're going to just quickly walk through what some of these issues are that we've talked about. You've seen some of these intro slides several times, and so if you've been following the course, and so I'll be quick with that as I talk through them. But for our learning objectives or our outcomes, we want you to walk away with a couple of things. The first is that leadership is not about being anointed some high position that you're given because you achieved something, right? Leadership is about you now, everyone, every day, a leader. Leadership is there for the taking. You don't wait until you get promoted to some position or some position of power to be a leader. You think about the people around you. You think about how to influence and how to motivate the people around you. You think about how to analyze the situation in front of you, and you lead, right? Leadership is there for the taking. Everyone, every day, a leader. Leadership doesn't matter what position you're in. What matters is how you interpret the world and how you strive to use your own skills, your own mind, your own emotions to make the people around you and the world around you a little bit better, one step at a time. That's leadership. And it's a different kind of leadership than is often taught in big leadership classes, but we believe this is the core of leadership. The second thing is that we want you to walk away from this course with some frameworks, some ways of thinking about things, right? And so like, if you think back, 5 years from now, when you're out doing some challenging thing and engaging in some project, or even just facing a group of people that you need to help move in a certain direction, and you think back to that everyday leadership course that I had, and what was it that Ron Garrett and Alexander Campbell told me? What did they say? Oh yeah, I remember the VAMI framework: vision, alignment, motivation, introspection. So we want you to take these frameworks and put them in your toolbox, okay? The third thing is, and we hope this comes through in this class, is we believe in teaching with real world examples, real world leaders. We sometimes think of leaders as those people who are at the top of a mountain, and we look up to them, and the Michael Jordans and the Barack Obamas of the world, and people in really high places. But leadership is about people around you, people you can see and touch, people you can see your own experiences in. Leadership is about, it's why it's been so important to have Dr. Garrett and Mr. Campbell in this class, because they have been teaching us, but also teaching you. They are the real world leaders that are there as examples for you. And so that's, if you think about this course, that's what we hope you took away, and that's what we hope is there for you. Team, and you want to add anything to those pieces?
I think that, well, I don't think, I know that when you look into yourself, and you're sitting there in the cell and you're watching this, that be truthful. Be truthful to who you are. What is your vision? What is your real vision? You don't have to share it with anybody, but what is your vision? How do you align yourself so you can be in alignment with that vision? What is your motivation? What is your motive for wanting to do these things? And then go deep within. If you have to separate them, put them one on each sheet of paper and break them down that way, do that. That's a winning formula. And, wish you the best of luck, and, go get it.
Beautiful. Ron, anything from you? Ron, you're on mute. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think that as we move forward to the conclusion of this course, I just hope that everyone, as they have looked at each one of the different components of the everyday leadership process, just remember, to the degree that you apply it will be to the degree that you will excel in all that you hope to do.
Beautiful. David, final word?
As we have done this, I've begun to appreciate more the flexibility of the VAMI framework, as a tool to analyze both the circumstances you are in and the circumstances that exist within you, and how to
Beautiful.
negotiate back and forth. So I think this, the more someone contemplates this and works this, the more power they will see that it has to apply to so many different areas.
Awesome. So well said, everybody. All right. Now we always introduce every session with this idea that there are two core frameworks. We've talked a little bit about the VAMI framework already, but also in our writing about everyday leadership, we always talk about these ideas that come out that are fit together with the VAMI framework, but we want to emphasize a couple of different and important words that are clear here. One is complexity and alignment. Alexander, I think you must remember, well, actually both Alexander and Ron, because this comes into both vision and alignment, right? So one of the things that we like to think about with vision is vision isn't just your goal, right? Vision is also your ability to recognize the complexity of the world around you and to be able to navigate it, and then to create an aligned organization that works together. And Ron, we're going to talk a little bit deeper about complexity, and I want to hear you talk again about Metalworks, but you speak so eloquently about organizational culture and alignment when you talk about these things. Did I get that right for you too?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm thinking back to the introspection module when we were doing this introduction. We had a really wonderful conversation about humility. And I think humility is just such an important part of leadership. And we put together humility and being wrong because often we fear being wrong. It's terrible to be wrong. But actually, it's okay. We're humans and we make mistakes, and being wrong is okay as long as you learn from your mistakes and you're humble about how you handle those mistakes in the face of the people you're trying to work with. And so I loved that conversation, and for the participants, I would welcome you to go back and look at the introspection module. But we really, this team had a lot of interesting things to say about humility. Do you guys want to remind the viewers of anything here?
Humility is a choice. It shows your strength, and it shows the strength of your character when you choose to be humble.
Beautiful. Ron?
Now, I'll say one of the most succinct definitions that have helped me to understand humility. It is power under control.
Nice. That's interesting. Okay. David?
I think humility is the precursor to any kind of introspection and change. So.
Beautiful. Beautiful. We also throw up the word democracy here, and democracy isn't about some massive political system. Democracy is just about letting everybody speak, hearing everybody's voice, creating good leaders, create the conditions in which people feel like their voice is welcome to be heard. Doesn't mean they're always going to be listened to. It doesn't mean they're always going to be viewed as being right, but we want to create democracy with a small d, which just means create the conditions under which people feel empowered to speak. We had a really nice session a couple of times ago on introspection, and it was just a very lively conversation. But I think, I don't want to speak for you all, but what I remember from that session is, I think we all agreed that introspection is one of the cornerstones of leadership. If you can't look deep inside of yourself and be honest with who you are, you're going to struggle. But being able to look deeply inside of yourself and being honest about who you are is one of the cornerstones of good leadership. Did I remember that correctly, guys?
Yes.
Absolutely. If I can't, to be able to look within myself and to be honest with who I am, without it, I could never get to the point of understanding that I have weaknesses, and then to be willing to accept the fact that I have weaknesses, and then to allow, others that are in our culture, or others that are on the team who many of the weaknesses that I had, there were other people that was their strength. And when we came together in a coalition, in a democratic way of governing our leadership body or the therapeutic community that we led while at Walker Faith and Character-Based Prison. It helped us go so much further, so much faster, and we were always cordial. We were always stayed on the same page because there was no one person that made the final decision. It was we always had a discussion. We were after the best decision for the men in the program, and as long as our the main mission stayed central to what we were doing and not anyone's ego, then we got a whole lot more accomplished that way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyone else want to jump in? David, Alexander?
When you go through introspection, like I said, if you just drop the TRO and make it inspection, then that means you're examining your feelings, your emotions, your mindset, the people around you, how they affect you and how you affect them. And it goes into that place where you say, okay, do I want to be a better person or do I want to keep the mask on?
Beautiful. Wonderful. David, any final words on introspection? Yeah.
I think they've said it all.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask you to review a little bit your organization of One Piece, which is so closely tied to introspection. So, and finally, creativity. And we remind everybody here that often when we hear the word creativity, we think of painting and drawing and doing beautiful things, but creativity is just how you look outside of the box to attack difficult problems. And sometimes creative solutions are just your ability to be introspective, to listen to other people, to be humble enough to know that you don't know the answer right now, and to find a creative answer to what it is you're doing. So we think these are all a part of the elements of everyday leadership that we want you to walk away with when you think about this course in time down the road. And again, the VAMI framework is also a core piece of this. And we'll just run through a couple of examples to remind the group about the conversations that happened in each of the modules. We had the introduction module, and then we dove into vision. And Alexander, that was you and me. I want to hear your thoughts about it, Alexander, but I just want to remind the group of one of the things when we were starting to talk about your vision as you're making a transition from being incarcerated to being a returned citizen. You told a really interesting story, and please correct me if I'm getting it wrong, but when you were in front of your parole officer or whoever was doing paperwork for you, and she saw that you had produced 10 plays, or you had written 10 plays, and 8 of them, if I remember correctly, were produced in prison. And
Right.
And this person said, well, I think you don't have the right vision because you're never going to get on Broadway.
Mhm.
And if I remember correctly, Alexander, you said, well, I'm sorry, but that's your vision. That's not my vision. My vision, I wrote these plays for myself and to communicate with people, and I never thought about Broadway. So, and I thought it was such a nice example of how it's important to remember why we do things, but it's important to remember your vision is yours, right? And am I
Absolutely.
remembering that story correctly, Alexander?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because it is. Your vision isn't your mother's vision. It's not your father's vision or your friend's vision. It's your vision. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And you have to go after it. It was in your head for a reason. It was placed there for a reason. You have a purpose. So
Right.
you have to go through the steps in order to get there. Take on the challenges. Become that which you're capable of being.
Yeah. And Ron, I am going to come to you in a second when we talk about alignment, but I want to ask you about vision too. And we can think about this both as personal vision, but I've also heard you talk eloquently about Metalworks, the organization you work for, what that organization's vision is. And so vision is everywhere in your leadership experience as well, is it not?
Absolutely, and I think I repeat again that Metalworks Behavioral Healthcare Agency, we're the first behavioral healthcare agency in the country to specifically stand up a division to uniquely design services for returning citizens and our families. And our vision behind that is to provide the highest quality of service to returning citizens in the country. So we don't, it's not really complicated. We just believe that everyone that comes, everyone who is coming home from prison, we are though we have made a bad decision at some point in our life, we all need to be treated with dignity, and we all need to have the highest quality of respect in our engagement with everyone that comes to our doors.
Beautiful, beautiful. David, do you have any, I know you're going to get into some of this stuff when we talk about organization of one, but any vision thoughts when you think about how the way in which your little organization has navigated the world? Or
I think you put it really eloquently in your lesson, in our conversations. It starts here. And I think a very nice, I don't want to say twist, but the aspect that you also focus on, that vision is in context of your environment, I think is a powerful one. I think it oddly, even though it might lead to one thinking about limitations, it's freeing as you get a more clear picture of what reality is. Where the vision lives is important. That no vision is going to be actualized just within a mind. It gets actualized in the world. And I think when you make that distinction, it is a powerful idea and a powerful driver to make something happen.
thank you for pointing that out, David. And it's so well said. It's so often the case when you hear people teach about leadership or they write books about leadership, vision is just this thing that it's a goal, right? And what we've tried to do in this course, and I commend all of us working together on this, is we've tried to teach vision as not just being about the goal. Like, yeah, it's the North Star, it's the thing you're walking towards, but it's also good leaders have vision that sees out of their peripheral vision. They're seeing the complexity of the world. The world's a complex place, not just the complexity of organizational structures out here, but like human beings are complex. And understanding that complexity and how to have a vision of walking through that complexity and leveraging it to achieve your goal or achieve your vision is an equally important part of vision. So thanks for calling that out, David. So then we went down to alignment. And again, we're talking about organizations and people in the biggest environment. But then once you have your goal and you've recognized the complexity of how to get there, then you have to build the team or build the organization or build it within yourself to get there, right? And alignment is a complex thing. It's both about how well what you're trying to do aligns with or meets up with your values, but it's also about building an organization that has the right strategy and the right people and the right tasks and the right formal organizational structure and the right culture. And Ron, you were so eloquent in talking about this in our alignment session. Just give us a quick recap of that story, because you jumped in there with the metalwork story and it was brilliant. So tell us a little bit about that. So remind our viewers what that story is.
So with Metalworks and beginning this new division to serve returning citizens, though we had having a wonderful vision is amazing, and but without having some key components in place, we can have the right vision. It could be at the right time, but if we don't have the right people on board, and then the right people have to be in the right position, you also would need a cohesive leadership style, a leadership structure to guide the vision, along with the proper strategy. We've got to have the steps in place to take us seamlessly from where we are to the next phase of our development. And then we got to have identify the proper tasks for each one of the people in on the team to make sure that we stay on track to meeting our goals. And culture, I can't say enough about culture. If we don't, culture to me is one of the most important components of alignment, because if the culture is off, if the belief systems and the values of the core team, if they are out of line, then it'll throw everything off. And then lastly, each of those things must be in place in order to optimize our ability to have the outcomes or the outputs that we're aiming for.
Beautiful. So well said. again, we will invite participants to go back and watch the alignment session, because it was just a beautiful analysis that you gave in that session, Ron, and I thank you for it. The next session was a session on motivation, and Alexander, that was you and me together. And here again, I've been teaching leadership and taught the BAMI framework and taught motivation many times in my career. And Alexander, I have to say that session on motivation was probably the most moving session I've ever experienced, because of the way you talked about motivation. I think it was truly amazing to really translate your experiences into a language about motivation that related to the BAMI framework, but was really tied to everyday leadership. So can you give us a brief recap of that conversation?
For me, my motives had to be aligned with my morals, my principles, my values, and my laws. My personal laws which govern my life. If they are out of line, what happens is my motives will be negative and my motivation will be on the wrong side of things. That's what leads us to prison. A lot of times our motives are wrong. That's why we do the things we do. Now, but when I'm in alignment to right thinking, positive thinking, doing positive, then I have the right motives, and my motivation will excel in a way that is going to be conducive and productive for all of those around me. So that's how I look at my motives and how my motivation works.
It was beautiful. And in that conversation, I remember, Alexander, we were dancing between leadership and organizations and teams. But when you talked, you really brought it to the personal level. And that's what I thought was so powerful about it, is personal level and personal experience. And you talked about your motives and what motivates you and your alignment. And it was such a nice reminder for myself and for our viewers that motivation is really about how well you know yourself, and that leads us into introspection, but also how well you understand people around you. So
Absolutely.
you can use the tools to motivate them well too.
Yes, because you have to study the people around you to motivate them, just even into helping you. Because, there's an old adage, if you take one step, God will take two. And the other part is, why should somebody help you if you're not helping yourself?
Beautiful. Yeah. So well said. And so again, we invite participants to go back and look at each of these sessions. Then we came to introspection, and the four of us were all together on the introspection module. I think we've already said in the previous slide where we talked about everyday leadership tenets, but I think we all agree that introspection is a cornerstone of good leadership. Good leaders need to have the will and the bravery and the courage to look deep inside of themselves and understand who they are, what their strengths and weaknesses are, how they're presenting to the world, and how to ask for help when they need it, how to surround themselves with people who can help them. And so I think that's a very powerful session too. What I'd like to do now is we went from the introspection session, and the work that David presented in sessions 6 and 7, I think was truly new to me. I mean, David, you and I have been friends and have been working together a long time, but putting this all together and your building of the organization as one content, it was truly revelatory. And I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about how what we did before led you and what you taught in these sessions.
Yeah. As we began talking about collaborating on this, it made me think of my career. I've been a teacher, and I've been very interested in how cognition, emotion, and perception and perspective influence our performance. And the first thing that struck me is how many terms we used in similar fashions. So when I started learning more about how to use the BAMI framework, I realized it was a great, it fit for what I was doing as well. It was a great overlay. So what we do in Organization 1 is we start with the definition of self-leadership. And we talk about the different components of self-leadership and growth. And I've heard Alexander and Dr. Garrett speak about this as well. We've talked about, and as well as you, there's vision, there's strategy, there's knowledge. Alexander talks a lot about morals, perspective and mindset, culture, alignment, how we can be at Doug. You talk a lot about systems and creativity, execution, introspection, reflection. And that's really what I think, as I developed a system to help students, is a self-leadership model. And it begins with purpose, I think. It begins with, the North Star that, again, is in context with what our environment is. So the great thing about doing this and collaborating with you and being involved with this project is our case study was Dante Clark. And Dante was is a poet and a writer, and very successful. He was a student of mine about 25 years ago, and he was our case study. And Alexander and Dante and I just kind of walked through some of the key principles. We started with vision and purpose, and we talked about the importance. Now, we didn't emphasize as much, though we talked about it's necessary that it's within your environment. But for our purposes, vision was more an imaginary thing. Vision was more of, we emphasized the North Star, because when we talk about organization of one, at first we're talking about getting clear on ourselves. And we did talk about, and it is important as you get clear for yourself, where does that fit into the environment around you? What are the constraints? What can you give back? And that was really our first lesson, which I think was powerful. And we talked about the 5 different ways that we talked about our passions, our values, what are our being goals, what are our doing goals. And Alexander and I went through this together, and Alexander basically crafted his vision live for people to see. Of course, Dante already had his vision because I had gone through this process before, but it's a great way for people to see how they can do this for themselves and the effect that can have on them. And Alexander, as we went through that process, if you can recollect, what was that like for you?
It was good because, you have to make a decision and go after it. And so to craft the vision was to simply look at things, what my goal is, and say, you know what, I can see myself being in this position, because when I reach this position, then the vision even explodes even more. And it's just a matter of striving, going through the steps, being able to, as you say in your strategy, deal with the setbacks, and to overcome the setbacks, because they only make you stronger. And they give you a choice, and it's a development of the will. So, yes.
I want to point something out. One of the things I love about Alexander and being around Alexander's energy, and he says it every time we start, let's go get it. Well, let's go get it implies there's something to get, and that's the vision.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear Alexander talk about winning or getting it, Alexander is grounded in an aligned vision that he finds morally beautiful, worthwhile. He's always in service, and it gives him a power and perseverance that's remarkably contagious. And maybe I'm wrong, Alexander. I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, but I always think when you say let's get it, which is your catchphrase to me, is like that came first, what you wanted to get. And I know it was a struggle to get there, but that you seem to have an inner fire for something, which I love.
You have to.
Okay. Right.
You have to. You have to have a drive and a desire to achieve a thing. If
Right.
not, then you done tapped out, and I refuse to tap out.
I know this isn't the lesson now, but I'm just so dang curious. What came first for you? Do you have a drive and you have to direct that drive towards something, or do you have the thing that you want to achieve and then the drive follows through?
I was talking to Doug the other day as an example, and he was talking about the program and dealing with it as far as case studies.
Right.
And when we were talking about building the business model, one of the things I said is, okay, it's cool if it goes into a magazine, but what about Forbes or Wall Street Journal?
Right.
That would be my vision, and that is my vision.
Right.
Because I believe that we deserve a space in the reentry space, and to prove that you can take somebody from reentry or that has been incarcerated and go from there into making those magazines. Right. So in him saying what he wanted to do, he gave me the kick to say, you know what? I see Forbes in my future. I see Wall Street Journal in my future. Oh man, let's get it. How are we going to get there? So now I'm plotting my steps.
Right.
So,
and this
Can
takes
I just add in, David? It was such a memorable moment too, because we were in a dialogue and we were talking as equals, just like talking through like how we were going to do this together. And I was talking about the case studies and getting them out there. And here was Alexander saying like, Doug, I don't want just like some lame article. Like I want Forbes. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was listening. I was like, okay, dude, let's go. And it was a real motivated leadership moment. And we were leading each other, right, Alexander? I mean, it was really it was a wonderful moment.
Absolutely.
I admired your sense in that moment.
And that's our organization of one, part one. And then organization of one, part two is this thing. How do we achieve that vision? What are the milestone goals that we need? What strategies do we have to have? What is a SMART goal? And we recognize what it's like to be human. So we use Dante as an example. And not all of Dante's goals fit into the SMART goal definition, yet Dante has achieved. So partly what we want to talk about is what it's like in reality. There's theory, right? And there's why we do something. And sometimes we don't fit exactly into that box and it still gets done. And I think that's an important thing to express. We went through strategy that Dante used. And we talked about a major setback Dante felt that he experienced. It's a personal one. It was an emotional one. It was one that really knocked him down. And we talked about how he used vision, how he realigned with his vision, to fall back in love with his vision, to pull himself out. And that brought us to the idea of perspective, mindset, and culture. And I know you talk about culture and organization, and we talk about culture as an internal culture. How do we respond to events? What things do we emphasize? What things do we see? What things do we de-emphasize? That's part of our internal concept, our culture. Do we react with anger? Do we react with challenge? Do we react with curiosity? So we did a lot of work on that. And then we talked about the personal motivation. What are the levers that we use to get ourselves to do things? Our behaviors, our thoughts, our feelings, our conditions that we find ourselves in. So we had a nice discussion about that. And we ended with our version of introspection, which is reflection, iteration, because we're never after perfection. We're always trying to improve. And how do we optimize? So we do a second version with optimize, and then we go back to the beginning again and start all over. So I thought they were great sessions. I loved working with Alexander and Dante, and I hope the people who watched found it rewarding as well and can go back and reference it whenever they like.
Indeed.
Yeah, and it was a really deep experience for, I think, all of us. And I want to transition into sort of the general takeaways. But Ron, any final thoughts on what you want people to take away with going through each of these elements of the course?
I just think that each component and each element of the course is absolutely critical. I really like David and Alexander's take on how they went through the organization of one and being able to implement these principles for each one of you that are listening to this course and implementing this course in your daily life. This will be a life-changing experience for you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ron, and everybody. Now, just for fun, and we've mentioned some of these in the beginning, but I want to just make sure people are walking away with the right ideas. First, we're going to do a brief summary of what we want you to take away. And hopefully this course has been a deep experience for you, so there'll be much more than the bullet points, but we want to just make sure that you have them and you've sort of thought them through and written them down. So first, position. And you guys, please jump in if there's anything you want to add to this, but position. It's not about the position you're in. It's about how you act in that position, right? So it doesn't matter if you're an incarcerated individual or an entry-level individual in an organization or a student in a classroom or a teacher in a classroom. Leadership isn't about the position you're in. Leadership is about how you step by step make the people around you and the world a little bit better every day. That's leadership. right? And that's what we want you to take away from everyday leadership. Don't wait for that promotion. Don't wait for that moment when you get the big job. Don't wait for that moment when you successfully completed this task. It's there for the taking in how you behave every day and how you analyze and think about the people around you and make them and their lives a little bit better through your introspective action. It's about everyday action and introspection. Often we think about leadership as charisma. People are so, you want to follow them, right? But we don't really, it's not that those aren't qualities of leadership, but we don't emphasize that. What we like to emphasize is that it's about how deeply you think about yourself and how deeply you think about the people around you, and get yourself and your honest assessment of yourself in alignment with the vision and goals of what you're doing. And it's, again, about everyday decision making, right? It's about everyday action. It's not about some big idea. It's about moment to moment interactions. That's leadership. It's about organizational interests. And again, when we talk organizations, we're not talking, it could be big organizations, but it could just be a small group or a team, a group of friends. And how you make decisions that are in the best interests of furthering yourself and the people around you in that group. It's about empowerment. We talked about the word democracy in an earlier slide and talked about how important democracy is for everyday leadership. But again, we're not talking democracy with a big D. We're talking about how you listen to people around you, how you empower them to speak, right? How you get people to understand, like, I'm listening to your voice and I want to hear it because your voice matters to me. And of course, it's about complexity. It's about complexity of vision, complexity about organizations, complexity about people, right? And how well you analyze that complexity is what helps you become a good leader. So those are our kind of 5 key takeaways for this course. Anybody want to add anything to this, or did I miss anything?
You didn't miss anything. I know that this quote popped up in my head. There's a hip hop mogul named Jay Prince. He said, "We're given a chance and a choice. When we wake up, that's our chance. Now you got to make the right choices. What choices are you going to make?"
Beautiful.
And that's how I think about this curriculum.
Beautiful. Well said. David?
I don't know how to follow that. I've worked with Alexander for several of these, and he just seems to hit it. That's what it comes down to, right? We have a chance and a choice, right?
I love it. I love it. Ron?
So I'm gonna go back to position. I just love this one so much. Regardless of where you are in life, in your place of business, or in the organization, lead with excellence and inspire those around you to do the same.
Beautiful. So well said. Lead with excellence and inspire. And I love the fact that lead and inspire are spoken in the same sentence, because, if you're a good leader, you're going to be an inspiration to people. And I love it. It's great. On an earlier session, we had a couple of things, and we don't have to spend a lot of time with this, but we talked about Mandela's ideas. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's inspiring others to move beyond it. Lead from the front, but don't leave your base behind. Lead from the back and let others believe they're in front. Know your enemy and learn about his favorite sport. Keep your friends close and your rivals even closer. Appearances matter, and remember to smile. Nothing is black or white. And quitting is leading to. We've been through this before, but any immediate responses? Any of those jump out as your favorite?
Know your enemy and learn about his favorite sport. That's dealing with the movie Invictus.
It is. It is. You're right. Yeah. True story for Mandela. Yeah.
And it's very smart. It's very strategic and tactical.
Yep. Yep.
I used to have a martial art instructor that said, courage is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to move through it. So he was talking about individually, not inspiring others, but he was talking about to move forward anyway.
Yeah.
I love that one.
That's beautiful. Ron, what about you?
I definitely like I like them all, but lead from the front, but don't leave your base behind. And in the example I gave in our earlier lesson, earlier session, I know that part of our process in the therapeutic community that we were putting together, we stalled for a moment because I had kind of taken off and gone off and left a significant number of folks. So that's a very, very, very important component to leadership.
Yeah. My natural favorite is lead from the back and let others believe they're in front, because I think really good leaders are humble enough to not need the light shown on them, but they sort of, are behind the scenes making things work and letting other people believe that they should get all the credit. And I think that's a wonderful trait to have. But I also love quitting is leading too, because sometimes we get so caught up with the idea that I'm the leader, I'm the most important person here. And we forget that actually sometimes it's time to step aside and make room for somebody else. And I think that's a leadership move in doing that. Yeah. So, okay. And then we also spent time in one of our sessions talking about one of my favorite creative leaders, Keith Reinhardt, he's a superstar in the creative industry, but nobody knows his name because he's such a humble guy. He's actually the individual, if anybody's ever seen the television show Mad Men, it was made about him. But they needed a very different person to actually be the kind of player that played the lead in Mad Men. But he was the guy who transformed the industry by taking the purse pumping company, DDB Worldwide public. And he's such a humble person. And I would always love talking to him and interviewing him. And he would say, hire people that you think are better than you are. Don't be afraid. Hire people who are smarter than you. Be passionate about ideas. Create an environment that cherishes and nourishes them. Be open to surprises. Expect the unexpected. Don't compete with your people. Shape their ideas. If you have a better idea, help them think that they came up with it. Take responsibility, but give credit. And my favorite, dare to be naive. Don't think you have to know everything. It's okay. Just go out there and come up with new ideas. And, maybe it's naive, but maybe it's a great idea. Any of these jump out at you guys?
Hiring people you think are better than you. And when I formulate my teams, I have a young lady that was blessed to talk to Dave one day. And one of the things I know as a 55-year-old man talking to 20-year-old females or high school females is not going to work. We don't relate. And so she's my mentee. And I said, go get them. And she said, you don't want to say anything? I said, absolutely not. And when I put her in front, all the young ladies flocked to her and they loved her. And she gave them her phone number, her email, and her IG and all of that. And they've been correlating, conversating this whole time. And she now has them under her wing. And we were at an alternative high school. That is a win. I won because I got out the way to let somebody else that was better than me do that. And so I loved it. And I do that with some of the other young guys. Go get them. That's my motto. I'll be here.
That's it. That's a great story. David, Ron, any of these jump out at you?
I like 2 and 5. I like be passionate about ideas.
Okay.
I think sometimes people move into action too quickly. I think loving the idea, being curious about it, seeing how things mesh, being creative is critical for leadership and teamwork. And I'm also drawn to take responsibility, but give credit.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love these. Ron, any for you?
And I mean that of course they're all amazing, but take responsibility, but give credit. I learned that when you are in the position of the primary leader, it doesn't matter who has made the mistake in the organization. Publicly, whoever the primary leader is, must be willing to take responsibility for any wrong decision or any wrong course of action. But at the same time, when people have if I could add a number 7, how could I say it like this? To give words of affirmation publicly, but to give corrective criticism privately.
That's beautiful.
And I'll close with that.
That's a great one, Ron.
I love what you said, Ron, and I'll just share. There was one person that I was working with. I had a coaching relationship with this person, and this person came to me and was just really upset. And the person said, every time something happens that's wrong, I get blamed for it. But every time something happens that's right, I give credit to my team for it. I can't win. And I was like, no, you're winning. That's good leadership. That's good. I'm sorry. Leadership is hard, but you're doing it right. You take the blame and you give the credit. And if you're doing that, be proud. You're being a good leader.
Doug, you gave us an example one time when we was all together in that classroom. You took extreme ownership, and I had just read parts of the book dealing by Jocko Willink that says extreme ownership. It wasn't your fault. Everybody knew the assignment. We, as the students, deviated, but you said, no, I didn't give you clear instruction. And that was an example, as well as what Dr. Garrett just said, extreme ownership. That's powerful movement. That's a part of humility.
Wow, thank you for that. And that's, again, we have to model our behavior as leaders, and leadership is about every micro interaction. And so, and I've learned so much from being in this course with you guys. And I want us to each give some final segments, but before we do that, I want to just remind everybody, this is a team effort. The 4 of us have done this together, but we had a team behind us as well. Alexander, you just mentioned the advisory group that we have. I don't know, are there about 10 or 11 returning citizens on that group that have given us their time and helped us shape what it is that we have come together as a smaller team to do. Sydney Davis was there, and there are several other returning citizens that were there, and Dan Wright has been somebody who's been a really interesting force. I know Dan for many years as a China scholar and somebody who's been a very successful business person in China, and here he is really trying to build out ties and support to the returning citizens community because he believes in it, and he's just such a wonderful force in this world. And Tony Loudon, of course, we all know from Viapath, the chief social impact officer at Viapath, and it's just the force of character and personality. And I don't know if you guys remember when we were in that room and we were sort of all talking about what this course could be, and the second day Tony showed up, and it was just like a new level of intensity. We just felt like how important the conversation was. And so Tony's been a huge support for all of what we've done. And then there are other people behind the scenes. My business partner on Global Leadership, Sarah Kellogg. I would never be able to do half the things I do without her. And she's such a humble force. She's so creative and so brilliant, but she sort of shies away from the limelight and just lets us stand out and give the talks and put our names on things. But none of this stuff would happen without her and the other people that David and I have worked with in this process. David, is there anybody else that you want to call out that I missed here?
I mean, unfortunately, we couldn't get Dante. Dante was a great inspiration for Organization of One. He was the case study. He was kind enough and generous enough with his time to be there. I loved the interaction between he and Alexander. I think it was instructive, informative, motivational. So I really want to appreciate Dante, his effort and his time.
Thank you for that.
Good guy.
Yeah. Wonderful. All right. And, I want to just thank you guys. being with you in doing this teaching. I mean, I said it at the beginning of our session today, but I'll just say it again and lay it out there. You know, I've been teaching leadership a long time. I've spent a lot of time thinking and writing and researching about it. But I think for me, as a learning experience and a truly character building experience, working with you three people, it has been transformative for me. I've learned so much in working with the three of you in what we've built together and how we've listened to each other and how we've come together with content that is talking to a group of students that I haven't had the honor to talk to yet. And so this has really, for me, been transformative. And I want to thank you all for helping me see the way to put this course together. But why don't we go around the room and each say a little bit of what the experience has been like for each of us. Ron, do you want to jump in?
This experience for me has been it's brought back so many memories that I had during my 20-year incarceration experience, trying to learn how to be an effective leader, only to come to the final understanding that I first needed to learn to focus on leading myself well, and the rest would take care of itself. So therefore, being introduced to this to these sessions and these courses, I believe they're going to be life-changing and very instrumental in the lives of the men and women that will have access to them during their time of incarceration.
Alexander?
I want to thank everybody that participated. I want to thank you all for allowing us the opportunity to participate and share. That is one of the main things that I think about. And I know if those who are still on the inside take an opportunity to make a choice, because the chance of getting up is good. But when they make the choice to study these things and truly take off the mask and look at them for what they are, they will benefit in two ways: one, cognitive or in their mindset, as well as the structuring of being a leader on the outside. Because as we spoke on many times, leadership is broken down is the first word is lead, which means that is the self. When we add the ER, then that means our family. We become the leaders of our family. And then when we add the ship, because the ship consists of people, then we have leadership, which means that they have the community. This is what we talk about. And this is what is needed from people coming from prison to change the community, especially with what's going on in it today. We can make the impact to say, hey, this is not the road, or we don't make an impact. You know, one of the things that I look at, and not to get on the religious aspect, is, are you going to be Lazarus? You come back to life, which means you come back out into the world and don't nobody hear from you again, or you're going to take the other path. Resurrection means life. Leadership gives you this type of life in which you can change everything around you. So you have a choice.
Beautiful. So well said. David?
Yeah, I'm grateful to be part of this project. I'm grateful for the relationships I've developed with the men in this project. Hearing the ideas of folks. It's been wonderful to hear how vulnerable people were sharing their experiences, understanding what it must be like for other people, relating to it, and feeling like we're really on a mission of service and that we can make a difference. So it's an honor to be part of that. To learn more about your work has been a great gift for me. And, you know, the thought of the future drives me. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. I hope that we do a lot of good. I hope this resonates with folks who are watching. It can make a real difference. And I'm looking forward to next steps and how we can help more. And building the relationship that we've built with each other so far. I think there's a lot we've come a long way, and there's a far way to go as well.
Absolutely.
And David, if I could, you said it so well, and so I'm reluctant to say anything after, but you touched on the one final note, like when we thank all of the the people around us and the partners. And I, like you, I'm so thankful for all of you and for all of the Biopath team in bringing us into this. But I also want to thank you, the participants. We are here to give you some ideas, but this journey is yours. And we hope that our ideas, we humbly submit that maybe a few of them might help you along the way, but this journey is you. And our teaching doesn't matter unless we have people that we're speaking to and talking to and we're helping in some way. And so we want to thank you all for taking your valuable time and being a part of this. And with that, any final words from anybody?
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
It is. Gotta end with that.
There it is. Thank you all for being a part of the On Global Leadership, Everyday Leadership, Leading in Business, Community, and Self. And as David said, we hope that this is just the beginning. So we hope that this has been a constructive journey, and these 8 modules have meant a lot to you and have helped you think about a path forward. But we hope to keep coming back and collaborating with you on this journey. So thank you all, and thank you, Ron, Alexander, and David. It's been amazing to
Thank
work.
you, Doug. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you
Excellent.
for the
Thank
golden
you all as well.
opportunity.
Appreciate the opportunity. Absolutely.
This is awesome.
And cut. All right.
Okay.
Hold
I
on.
have to get out of here, gentlemen. I have to go
right.
to the Eastern Shore.
Thank you. And where's
Thank you.
hold on one second.